Hello everybody, welcome to this instruction video. This video is for part 5 of the TLC blanket. What we're doing in part 5 is we're going to join the squares that we worked in part 4. We're going to join them to our blanket. We're going to learn a join here to connect the squares to each other, and then we're going to learn a second join to connect all the squares to our main blanket. So that's what we're doing this week. You're going to be learning how to join squares. Now, the yarn that I'm using is still Scheepjes Chunky Monkey yarn in various colors, and this week you need both your hooks. You need both your 6.5mm hook and your 5mm hook. I'll take you step by step through the process of joining your squares. I hope it's a useful video for you. Thank you for watching. We're going to start by joining the first two squares. The two squares you need are color B and C. So find those two squares in your bag somewhere, and we're going to join them using color A. And at this point a 5mm hook. Take color A. So this is your main color. This is the lightest color in your kit. Make a slip knot and put the loop on your hook, and then you're ready to start. Now, to join these squares, what we're going to do, I'm just going to turn them like this. So this is color B and this is color C. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that you can really see what I'm doing. We're going to start by, if they are like this, we're going to join them in the corresponding stitches. So we're going to work through both stitches on either side, and that way bring them together. And we're going to do that using single crochet stitches. Now, you've done this stitch before, so the new thing here is that you're going to be working through more than one stitch. So it's on this side and that way you're going to be joining your squares. To join your squares, you have a loop on your hook, then insert your hook through the corner stitch. So this is the chain 2 space, through the corner stitch on one square and through the corner stitch on the other square. So through both squares. Then pick up your loop, your yarn from the back, and bring it to the front. Now you've got 2 loops on your hook, and then you take them both off. And now you've joined the chain spaces using a single crochet. Now we're going to move on, and on every stitch going to work a single crochet through both squares. So the next stitch is this double crochet, and then you go to the other side, and you're also looking for that first of the 3 doubles there, and work the single. And on the next stitch, you see you're going through both stitches, so you basically have 4 little loops, 2 V stitches on your hook, and the beginning loop here. Bring your yarn to the front, complete the single crochet. And here's the 3rd double crochet, and then the 3rd one on the other side. And this is also why we made that invisible join, because then this join is just so much easier. Otherwise you have a slip knot a little bit in the way, and that's just fuss. Now you have a chain space. So insert through the chain space and through the other chain space, so really just covering them. Grab your yarn and again work a single crochet. And this we're going to repeat until we're to the other side. But I'll show you. I'm going to go a little bit faster. But through every stitch, work a single crochet. Repeat. And then here's another group of 3 doubles. So working a single crochet either side. And this is actually a very nice way of joining. It gives a nice little ridge on the top of your work. And I've got this one here. And this is my last double crochet on this side, the last one on that side. And then the final single crochet is through the loop. And here again through the chain 2 space, so through that hole. And there we go. And that's it. That's your first join made. And now I can't seem to find my clippers, but they are around somewhere, but you can now cut your yarn and fasten off. So we've now joined the first 2 squares. Here's color B and this is color C. All you need to do, you're going to repeat this join on all your squares. The next square that I'm going to join is color D. That's this square. And here I'm going to repeat exactly this join again. So starting in that first corner with color A, work a single crochet until you're to the last corner. So you're going to join color D, and then move up the fabric, and then comes color E, and then comes color F, and I believe it's then B, well, B, E, D, F, C. I have it in the written pattern, but even though this is the order that I join these squares, and really if you want to join them in a different order, that's perfectly fine, of course. This is just a suggestion I give to you how you could join the squares. So what you need to do at this point is take your other squares and work a join on each of these to get a long strip of fabric of all your squares joined together. And when you've joined all your squares, this is what your work looks like. You've got this very long strip of fabric. What we're now going to do is on the top side and identically on the bottom side, going to work a number of single crochet stitches. And we're going to do these 2 rows so that we can easily join this to the rest of our blanket. So that's why we're doing it. So we're now going to work a row of single crochets at the top, but not every stitch. I'll show you exactly what I mean. I'm going to start in the top right hand corner of the long strip of fabric if you're right-handed, and the top left hand corner if you're left-handed. I can hear the racket from the birds outside. I hope it doesn't bother you. We're going to start with color A. And you're going to make a slip knot and put this on your hook. So like I said, we're going to start in this top right hand or left hand corner if you're left-handed, this chain 2 space. Insert your hook in that space, pick up your loop and complete the stitch. So this is your first single crochet stitch. We're now going to work 15 single crochets. That's going to bring us to this point here, and that's going to be 1 in every stitch. 1 single crochet in every stitch. That's 2. This is 3. Here's 4. So 4 is in this chain space there. That is 4. Because that chain space is also a stitch 4. 5, 6, 7. Number 8 is again here in the chain space, so that's 8. Now I need a few more. 9, 10. This here is 11, and then 12 is here in the chain space, and those last 3 stitches are the last ones. 12, 13, 14, there we go, and 15. So now you have along this edge 15 single crochets. For the next stitch we're going to work what's called a single crochet 2 together, and that means we're going to actually be decreasing a stitch, and we're going to work that in this chain 2 space and in that chain 2 space. So here's the yarn tail from the join. Just bring this forward so it's not in the way. So in the chain 2 space from the one corner and the chain 2 space from the other corner, we're going to work stitch in both of those, and we're going to decrease. Now, to work a single crochet 2 together, insert your hook in the first chain 2 space from the first square. Pick up a loop and bring that up. Now I'm going to go to the next square, the next chain 2 space. Insert your hook and pick up a loop, bring up. You now have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3. And what you've now done is you've worked a single crochet 2 together. So those 2 single crochets, you've nipped them together and thereby reducing a stitch. You're actually going to be doing this every time you get to a join of 2 squares. Now, on the next 8 squares, you're going to work a different stitch count. You're going to work a few of these single crochets 2 togethers. So these 15 singles, you're not going to do that again until you're to the end. So the next 8 squares, going to work what I'm going to show you now. I'm going to start by working 5 single crochets. So here. 1, 2, 3, then the chain space here is 4, and the first treble there is 5. So 5 single crochets. Over the next 2 stitches, so these 2 trebles here, again going to work a single crochet 2 together. Insert, pick up your loop, and now come to the next stitch, insert and pick up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, take them all off. In the chain space, work a single crochet. Over the next 2 stitches, again a single crochet 2 together. 1, 2, and take all 3 loops off in one go. Over the next 5 stitches, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, work a single crochet on every stitch. So here this is 1, number 2, here is the chain space, it's 2, number 3, in my case this is an invisible join stitch, I can see that because there's the chain. This is 3, this is 4, and 5 single crochets. And now we're again at a crossing point of 2 squares. So again I'm just going to bring my yarn tail forward, and again a single crochet 2 together over the 2 chain 2 spaces. So insert in the first square and then come to the next square and take them off. There we go. Now everything we've just worked, starting at this first of the 5 single crochets, this stretch, going to do this 8 times in total. That'll bring you up to just before the last square. I'm going to show this to you once more, and then you repeat it 6 more times without me. So the first, I just need a bit more yarn. There we go. So the first 5 stitches work a single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single crochets. And don't worry about these yarn tails, we'll deal with those at the end. Over the next 2 stitches, those 2 trebles work a single crochet 2 together. 2. In the chain space work 1 single, then over the next 2 trebles work a single crochet 2 together again. Now over the last 5 stitches work a single crochet on every stitch. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now you're at the crossing point to the next square again. So single crochet 2 together in both spaces. This is 1, and then come to the next one, the next corner, and bring them together. So now I've worked the repeat with you twice. Do this 6 more times, and then I will see you here. Then you'll be at this point here, and you'll just need to do the last square, and I'll show you that again. So I'm almost to the end. This is the last square. You see here I've worked all those repeats. So for example, here's the last single crochet 2 together, single and single crochet 2 together. I've worked the single crochet 2 together over the 2 squares, and now I've got these last stitches left. On the last square you're again going to work 15 single crochets, so that's 1 on every stitch. So starting in the first stitch, it's 1, 2, 3, in the chain space is 4, I'll go slightly faster perhaps, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I need a bit more yarn, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, the last 3 stitches, this is 13, 14 and 15. So now you've worked 15 single crochets, 1 on every stitch. Last but not least is the chain 2 corner space. In there again work 1 single crochet. And here are my clippers. I had them just slightly out of reach. Cut your yarn and open up the loop. Then that completes the first row on one side, and you're going to do exactly the same on the other side. So you've worked this one edge that side, so you've worked on the entire length of the fabric. On the one side you have these single crochets. Now rotate your work, there we go, like this. And now you're going to do exactly the same as you did on this edge, going to do on that side. So again, start here in the corner chain 2 space, work the 15 singles, then your single crochet 2 together over the first, to jump across the first join, and then again start that repeat that you're going to do 8 times, and then on the last square again 15 singles and a single crochet in the corner on the other side. And that should give you, on both this side and that side, 145 single crochets. So I'm just going to work this edge, and then I'll show you what the fabric looks like. When you've crocheted both edges, this is what your fabric looks like. You'll have a lot of yarn tails. We'll look at those at the end. Don't worry about them for the moment. But what you have is you have at the top and the bottom, you have this long stretch of stitches, and in between you have all those joins. Now what's important is that this long, on the long side, you have 145 single crochets. Why 145? Because the main blanket also has 145 stitches. That's so that you can easily align this piece of fabric with your main blanket. So at this point your fabric looks like this, and what we're going to do now is join this piece of fabric to the main blanket. So what we're going to do now is we're going to join the long fabric to the rest of our blanket. And you're going to do that with color A and with the larger of your two hook sizes, the 6.5mm hook. And the join that we're going to be working along this edge here is called a slip stitch join. Some people call it a zipper join as well. But this join is maybe slightly more difficult than this join we did here with the single crochet. So if you're struggling with this join and it's not working for you, no stress. Just do the same join, the single crochet join, by working a single crochet through every stitch either side until you're to the other side. And then you don't use the 6.5mm, then you use the 5mm hook. But for this join you do need the larger hook because we're going to use slip stitches and they tend to be a bit smaller, so to prevent your yarn from or your fabric from pulling in, we're using the larger hook size. Now I have my work aligned like this. So I've got, and this is on purpose because this is the way that I'm going to be working, and right side facing of both fabrics, and then we're going to be working this join here. I'll just zoom in for a moment and then we'll get started. So to make the slip stitch join, what we're going to do is, if I have the two sides of my work, if you look at the join, at the two rows of stitches either side, you'll see that each set of stitches on the left and on the right, there are in essence 4 loops, 2 on this side and 2 on that side. So you see here you have 2 and there you have 2. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using the centered 2 loops. That means this loop and that loop. So just those 2 loops to join the fabric to our blanket, and then the outer 2 loops remain unworked. And we're going to do that with slip stitches. Now by using slip stitches and using only those inner 2 loops, this join is virtually invisible. It's a very neat aesthetic join. However, having said that it's very neat and aesthetic and almost invisible, it means that using color A, which is white, on 2 rounds or 2 rows that are both color A, means it's going to be very hard for me to show you what I'm doing. So only for demonstration purposes, really for demonstration purposes only, I'm going to use a contrast color. But I want you to use color A to make this join. So to make the join, I'm going to start with your yarn, color A, make a slip knot, and put the knot on your hook. The hook you're using is the largest one of the 2, 6.5mm. Then place your yarn underneath your fabric. That's important. And now we're going to start in the first 2 stitches. So these first 2 stitches can be a little bit tricky to get into because you've already worked away that yarn tail. So to make it easier, come to that first loop and just open up that loop a bit, because this is the loop you're going to need. And then on the other side it should be okay because you've still got the yarn tail here. Then take your hook and insert from front to back. So this is the front of your work and you're going to, like front to back, through the main blanket. That's in the loop. So as you see here, there's still a loop left. Now come to the long strip of fabric and take again the inner loop. So you see here there's still 1 loop left. So now you have 3 loops on your hook, and this could be a little tight, but that's okay. And it's important your yarn is at the bottom of your work. That's important. And now you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. And you might have to wiggle them, take them 1 loop at a time. There you go. Now that's the first stitch joined. Now to continue, you take the second stitch. You see here again the second stitch. You've got 2 loops. You take the inner loop on the main blanket and then take the inner loop on the other side. And again, insert your hook through there. and pick up your yarn and pull them through all 3 loops on your hook. Like I said, this might be a little tight, especially because the hook size you're using is considerably larger than the hook size you used to make these single crochets, but that's because this slip stitch is otherwise going to be a bit tight and it's not going to be pretty. So going up hook sizes helps here. Then again, the next stitch, the inner loop, and come to this side, and again the inner loop. Grab your yarn, pull through all 3 stitches, and this is it. You're going to work this 1 stitch at a time until you're to the other side. It's once you get the hang of this, it's really easy. But until you do, it looks like, what am I doing? Yarn over, there we go, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops on your hooks. So you see you're making 1 slip stitch at a time. And if you look at it like this, you can see this joint is very flat on top of your work. And that's exactly the look you're going for. So continue like this, 1 stitch at a time, really until you're to the other side. And when you're to the other side, you'll have 145 of these slip stitches, and then you can cut your yarn and fasten off. I'm going to show you one more. On this side, take 1, and on that side, take 1, yarn over, and take off all your stitches. Continue until you're to the other side, and of course I'm going to rip this out because this is in the wrong color. You need to use color A. And there we go. If you're all done, this is what it looks like, and you can see, if you look at here in the white, you can hardly see this join. Oh, and by the way, I didn't explicitly say it. I mean, if you use this strip in this way or the other way around, that doesn't matter, because this blanket is completely symmetrical. So it doesn't matter which way around you connected this long strip of fabric. So this is what your blanket now looks like. Really, really nice. Now there's one last thing to take care of, and that's yarn tails. For your yarn tails, you have quite a few of them here on the join, and here also. You're going to do the same for all of them. I'm just going to thread one of them on my needle, because you're going to do the same for all of them. I'm just going to thread it on my needle. What I want you to do, and this is actually the neatest way, if you look here, you see the single crochet 2 together, and this is the yarn tail. If you push it through the middle of that stitch, and then pull it to the back, you can see how you're going to kind of pull your join into the middle of that single crochet 2 together. And now the yarn is here at the back. You can either choose to work it in here or there. Really, whatever makes you feel most comfortable. So work this yarn tail, and now you're going to do this exactly the same way as you've done before. So I'm going to go back and forth 1 or 2 times. Knowing myself, it'll be 2 times. And then this is the last one. There you go. And you can cut your yarn. There we go. And I believe that was out of view. But you're going to do that 3 times. And you can see here how this join is now nice and neat. So you want to do the same for all of these joins. So for all of these, both on this side and on this side. So here also, you see here's the single crochet 2 together. Push the yarn into that space there, pull it to the back, and then work it underneath these stitches. Do this with all your yarn tails, work them away, and then you're finished for this week. And when you're all done, this is what your blanket looks like. You see you've got this beautiful piece of fabric with all these squares attached to your blanket. I'm going to leave this yarn tail here because I like to do that, and work it away only when I've worked the next round. So we'll do that next time when we start with, again, something new in crochet.